In economics, inflation refers to a general progressive increase in the price of goods and services in an economy. When the general price level rises, each unit of currency buys fewer goods and services. Consequently, inflation corresponds to a reduction in the purchasing power of money. In St. Lucia, the public feels the squeeze of global inflation brought about by the onset of COVID-19, with various markups on supermarket shelves and the high cost of imports to the island. Yet, according to Prime Minister Phillip J Pierre, there is little that the government can do to offset these prices.
The high prices of food, basically foods that are imported, we have absolutely no control over it. We have no control over it because it is what we call imported inflation. These prices come from goods that are brought out of the country, and the increases are due to circumstances out of the country. Circumstances due to COVID, circumstances due to problems with the supply chain. So we have absolutely no control over these prices when they're imported. The only control we have in St. Lucia is that we can adjust or amend the duties and the VAT paid on these items in St. Lucia. But that means that you have to weigh the circumstances. You have to weigh the consequences. That will cause a drop in revenue. What the government has to do is we have to do what is called a cost-benefit analysis and see whether if we lose that revenue, it will not have an effect on the economy, on the quality of life of the people of St. Lucia.
The Prime Minister reveals that one of the few ways government can generate revenue is through these import duties, loans and various taxes like the value-added tax. Pierre admits that the already cash-strapped St. Lucian government has its hands tied in making any adjustments. However, the alternative of consuming local remains on the table.
So the idea of the people saying that we can do something about the cost of goods, that really is a fallacy. It almost doesn't make any sense because these goods are imported. What we can do is we can use what goods that we produce in St. Lucia. We can improve our food security by consuming locally produced foods. And even that may have an issue because in terms of if you have to buy fertilizer, etc., the price of these things are getting higher. And this is when I made a point about consuming our local food. And I used the point that we could use our bananas. I was ridiculed by people who basically should know better, but I guess it's political. So the answer is very simple. The government has to weigh as to the consequences of getting a loss of revenue vis-a-vis the cost of imported goods. Or secondly, you have to see if we can consume more of our local stuff, grow more of our food, buy more from our local manufacturers to see if we can avoid that level of imported inflation.
Pierre reveals that bolstering St. Lucia's food security still presents a challenge, as the island is still heavily reliant on imported fertilizers. And for the manufacturing sector, the high cost of importing raw materials still remains an issue. For the DBS Newsworld, I am Jason Darius.